Now, I don't know about you guys, but one of the best things I like One Piece, along with the great story and the great characters, is all the mystery that's been built up. There's always constant theories and ideas going about, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about today, is some of the great theories that I've heard since I started watching One Piece, and since even before I started watching One Piece. In fact, it's listening to all these theories that made me want to watch One Piece, because some of the theories that my friend were telling me about it were like, they were so interesting. I just had to get involved in the story of One Piece so I myself could experience all these mysteries unraveling. Currently, one of the big mysteries at the moment is him and this straw hat. There's like a massive straw hat. Now, my friends kind of come up with a theory that maybe that's Joy Boy's hat and Gold Roger's buried underneath it. We just don't know what's going on at the moment, but it's a great mystery, and like I say, that's one of the best things about One Piece. Something will get introduced, and then we won't find what it is until like 100 episodes later or something, and that's one, like I say, that's one of the great things about it. But we're going to talk about some theories in One Piece today and see what you guys think about them. You know, you can leave a comment of your best theory down below, or let me know what you think of these theories. Now, these theories, some of them are wacky and some of them are pretty plausible in my opinion. So we'll dive straight in with one of the earliest theories. In fact, it probably was the earliest theory that I heard, and you guys have probably heard this one too. But I also hear, in fact, I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, or if I do hear people talk about it, they kind of dismiss it. But basically, the theory is that Shanks is a bad guy. Now, in my opinion, Shanks wouldn't just be a bad guy, he'd be the final boss sort of thing. And obviously, a lot of people dismiss this because how can Shanks, the ultimate good guy, be a bad guy? I mean, all the way back in Shanks' introduction, you know, back in that bar, he didn't even attack the bandits. He was, you know, he was the one to like kind of turn the cheek sort of thing. So from that impression, we automatically presume that, oh my god, this guy's the ultimate good guy. But don't forget, who else did we meet in a bar who seemed like a pretty good guy? Blackbeard. He was just a guy who was just, you know, eating his cherry pies or whatever. If you didn't know that was Blackbeard, obviously you just presume, oh, he's just kind of a friendly guy or whatever. And then obviously we learn that he's Blackbeard, and now we presume that he's like the final boss. So, you know, Shanks' introduction as, you know, this ultimate good guy, don't put it past Oda, as that's just like to throw us off. Every time we've seen Shanks pretty much, he's always doing something kind of good. But if you go back to that interaction that he had with Whitebeard on Whitebeard's ship, it definitely comes across like he's got some sort of ulterior motive. Just the camera work on him and things like that, it's like, this guy's up to something here. We just don't know what he's up to yet. And that's the great thing. I mean, that bit on Whitebeard's ship, it must have been probably 600 episodes ago now, and we still don't know what Shanks' motives are. Even if he is a good guy or a bad guy, we still don't know what his motives are, and that's why he's a great character to come up with some theories on. And like I say, because we don't know that much about Shanks, it leaves it open for there to be loads of possibilities. I mean, we don't even know his full name, we just know him as Red-Haired Shanks, so, you know, there's a crazy theory out there which I believe way less than the fact that Shanks is a bad guy, and that's that Shanks is Marshall D. Shanks, so basically he's Blackbeard's brother or some sort of relation to Blackbeard. I don't believe that whatsoever, but simply because we don't know Shanks' full name, anything's plausible. There's also another theory out there that he's Ace's mum's brother, so he'd be like Portus D. Shanks, making him Ace's uncle, which also, once again, I don't really put too much stock into, because at Marineford, I think he'd have been a little more upset that Ace had died, considering Ace would be his nephew. But, you know, all these theories are interesting. But going back to the Shanks being a bad guy and having an ulterior motive, this all, just in case you guys don't really know much about that theory, the theory would go that Shanks, he has some sort of plan for Luffy, because Luffy's a D, and the will of D, the theory goes that Shanks isn't a D, and he needs someone who is a D to use the ancient weapon or something like that. That's basically the theory. But anyway, moving on to Blackbeard, another character that we mentioned within the Shanks theory. A theory to do with Blackbeard is the fact that he has 3 souls within him. Now, this theory is kind of a new one. I think it's been about a while, but we're getting more into this theory. You know, we've recently learned that Blackbeard doesn't sleep, or at least that's what Buggy said, that Blackbeard didn't sleep during the peaceful time of the war in the flashback that we've just got. So we know that, or at least we think that Blackbeard doesn't sleep, and the theory goes is he doesn't need to sleep because he has 3 souls, and while one soul's sleeping, another one comes out, so he's just constantly awake. But this is one of the latest theories that's unravelling, so I don't quite know all the ins and outs of it. But if you look at things like Blackbeard's flag, you notice that he's got the 3 skulls, which obviously is going to represent the three souls or whatever. Currently he's got 2 devil fruits, unless he had a 3rd devil fruit, which is allowing him to have all these devil fruits. Yeah, so currently he has 2 devil fruits. We're suspecting that he's going to get another one, so he'll have 3 devil fruits. How's that possible if he's only got 1 soul? But also, like, I guess the theory is, or not the theory is, but we're wondering what the theory is how's he managing to do this? If he does have 3 souls in him, how's that possible? I know people are saying that maybe he'd been experimented on by people like Vegapunk and Sanji's dad, but we just don't know yet. But that's the great thing about One Piece. It gives us these tiny bits of information, these tiny little clues, and then it just leaves us to speculate for hundreds of episodes. So I can't wait to see it unravel. But yeah, I think that's about it for the Blackbeard theory. I mean, don't get me wrong, the guy's got loads of theories surrounding him, but I'd say that's the most interesting one. What's going on with the 3 things coming freeze with Blackbeard, so it seems. Another theory is, and this is a pretty good theory, this, when my friend told me it, I wasn't expecting it straight away, but because my friend told me this before I started watching One Piece, I think, or early on in One Piece anyway, but as I started watching it and this character came in and then we find out more about this character, the theory really did start thinking, oh, this theory seems pretty possible, and that is that. So the theory is that Crocodile's a woman. Now this theory all comes into play in Impel Down. We meet a character called Ivanka, and she's basically got the power to turn people's... she can switch people's genders, basically, along with other things, but that's basically her main power. And she has a little interaction with Crocodile, saying something about Crocodile's big secret. Now, obviously, the secret could be anything, but considering that she can turn people from female to male or male to female, whichever way you want to go, she can do that. So that's what leaves us to speculate, oh, maybe Crocodile was once a woman. But then also you look at some other things from Crocodile. Now, I think Crocodile is the only person in One Piece to be known as Sir Crocodile, as in he's been knighted. But if you think about it, why are other people being knighted? Or who knighted him? That little tidbit there of Sir Crocodile just solidifying that, Sir, I'm a man, when really you're a woman. It's kind of like just a little bit to add to Crocodile's disguise. And then also, I think there's a picture I seen of Oda that drew a young Crocodile. And I don't know about you guys, but it looks a little bit more like a little girl than a little boy. And also Crocodile's kind of got that slick back hair, and I don't know, I never really thought of Crocodile as a woman, but the more I look at him, the more I can kind of see a little bit of a woman in him. Maybe it's just all in my mind, because obviously when you hear the theory that Crocodile's a woman, all of a sudden you start looking for these things. But I don't know, what do you guys think? That's a really good theory and one of the most plausible ones on this list. But also, not just Crocodile being a woman, but a lot of people say that Crocodile's Luffy's mum. Now that's super crazy to me. And if that is true, that is definitely something that Oda didn't think of early on when he was first writing One Piece. At least I don't think, in my opinion, if this is true, I think it's definitely something that he added in, a little bit like Sabo. Like, obviously, early on in One Piece, I don't think Oda had no intention of introducing another brother for Luffy and Ace, but then all of a sudden he must have got the idea and he worked it in, and he worked it in well, and he's working in this... if it is true, he's working in Crocodile being a woman theory well. I mean, I think he could have set up Crocodile being a woman all along just because he's always been Sir Crocodile, and maybe he had a plan to do the gender swap. But if it is Luffy's mum, I don't think he had that planned all along. Simply because in the arc where Crocodile is first introduced, I'm forgetting the name of it now, Alabasta, in the Alabasta arc, Crocodile's solely interested in the princess. It's like he has no interest in Luffy. He don't even know, I think he's heard the name of Straw Hat Luffy, but he never gives it any notice where you'd think, oh, maybe Crocodile knows Luffy some other way, as in it's his mum. If Crocodile is his mum, I think he'd have definitely, or he, she, whatever, would have definitely acknowledged Luffy a little bit more. However, if Oda has worked it in, so it's now, I am going to write Crocodile as Luffy's mum in disguise or whatever. That kind of would make sense simply because of how much Crocodile helped Luffy at Marineford. He did kind of seem to go a little bit above and beyond to help Luffy, so I don't know, maybe he was just grateful to be released, but it's an interesting theory, and the fact that Crocodile's a woman, I'm going to say that is true, and we're going to find out about it soon enough. Another theory, and this is a crazy one, but I like this one. It's super crazy and it's super out there, but it's pretty interesting, and that's that Akainu is Luffy's uncle on his mum's side. Now, this whole theory, you guys might have heard it, because I think this must be a pretty popular one. And I'm just getting all these theories off the internet. I'm in a One Piece Facebook group. That's where I get all my theories from. So if you guys have got any theories that you've seen out there, just let me know down in the comment below, because there's some good ones out there. But this is one of the funniest ones for me, simply because of the characters that it involves. But basically, the theory would go that obviously Garp is a Marine. He's been in the Marines for ages, and we can imagine that he wanted Dragon to be a Marine as well. Obviously, we can imagine that Dragon's around the same age as Akainu. So the theory goes that those two were like friends or whatever in the military, in the Navy. Or maybe they're not friends, who knows, but they're in the Navy either way. And basically, Dragon ends up getting with Akainu's sister, who's Luffy's mum, and then through something going wrong or whatever, Luffy's mum dies, and Akainu blames Dragon, but he also blames Luffy, who's obviously the child. Say that Luffy's mum dies in childbirth, and then Akainu just hates Luffy ever since then. Now, this theory wouldn't make sense, because like Akainu did seem to have it out for Luffy in the war, but maybe he was just simply power hungry and he knew that Luffy could stand for something. But I guess the theory would go that he was after Luffy so bad in the war in the end, because he knew that he was the kid who kind of killed his mum, kind of killed his sister or whatever. But I don't know, it's just a crazy theory to think that Akainu, the big bad guy, big military bad guy, is also Luffy's uncle. One Piece is that crazy that I won't put it past Oda to do something like that. I think it'd just be a crazy family tie-in, you know, how crazy is Luffy's family. But also, for that theory to be true, I guess Luffy's mum would have to be dead, which I don't want. I'd like Luffy's mum to be a character, an interesting character. And obviously this theory would go against the crocodile theory, so who knows? Like I say, these theories, they're just crazy, wacky theories, and I want to know what you guys think about them more than anything. But jumping into the next theory, we've got that Law is a Marine. Now, recently we're getting this whole sword division, and we know that it's like the secret aspect of the, we know that it's the secret division of the Navy, which involves people like X-Drake and Akoji. I think Kobe's in it as well, and a couple of other members. I can't quite remember all the members, but basically this theory is that Law's part of that team as well. Now, this theory kind of works for me simply because of Law's backstory with Corazon. Now, he also was a spy / secret marine or whatever, so for Law to jump into that position as well, that's what really makes me think it's possible. But also, look at his name, Law. It was my friend who was saying stuff like, oh, maybe Law's in this sword group, and then it was like, well, yeah, his name is Law. It would make sense for him to be on that side of the law. Also, other things that kind of add to this is when he brought those 100 hearts to the port, or whether he brought the 100 hearts to become a warlord. Like, that was never really explained. So it's kind of like, there is something going on with Law that we just don't quite know, and it won't be surprising to me to find out that he's a Marine. But also, unfortunately, it won't be surprising for me if he went the same way as Corazon and ended up dying. So, I don't know, I don't want Law to go, but I think he's definitely going to have an interesting story that's yet to be revealed. So look out for that one. This is a super crazy theory, but it goes back to the Shanks theory, and it also includes Blackbeard. So the theory goes, obviously, going back to the Shanks theory, the theory goes is Shanks is the ultimate bad guy, right? He's the end guy. We all think it's going to be Blackbeard or the Navy, or maybe someone else that we haven't met yet. But if you think Shanks is a bad guy, he's obviously going to be the final boss. So the theory goes that Blackbeard will join with Luffy to help beat Shanks. That's how much of a bad guy Shanks is, that the Straw Hats need the help of Blackbeard to defeat him. And that's pretty much all the theory is, you know, it's just a funny little crazy one, but I like that one. It made me chuckle when I read that Blackbeard's going to join with Luffy to defeat Shanks. I mean, how crazy would things have got for that to happen? But anyway, guys, I think we're going to leave it there. We've gone through some of the, we're going to say some of the greatest One Piece theories. I don't know if they're great, but they're definitely crazy, wacky and funny. That's, like I say, that's one of the best things about One Piece, and the thing that got me into One Piece is the theories. You know, it was listening to all these theories that were like, oh man, I want to know about Shanks and Blackbeard, and I want to know about him and what's under the hat and things like that. But you guys let me know what some of your best One Piece theories are. Let me know if you think any of these are plausible, and I'll see you guys next time.